Amy, would you share a little bit about what you've tried and what's worked for Tessa?
I just started a couple weeks ago. I don't have nearly the experience you have, but I think what was a good thing about that is I saw such a difference between how I had been doing silent reading and reader's workshop and what happened when I just took that component of Daily 5 and had them read to themselves. It was a relief to them to have those guidelines and to have that eye chart. And they were all on board, even the ones who were squirrely, and especially them, I think, because they needed somebody to say, okay, you're not going to be allowed to book shop, and you can't sharpen your pencil. And other kids now are showing the eye chart to the ones who aren't doing it right. They'll say, look, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. And I had a couple girls, Audrey and Erica, write a pledge on their own. They came up with it. So I'll read this to you really quickly. I pledge allegiance to the book law. I will work on my stamina, read quietly, get started right away, stay in one spot, read the whole time, keep a few books beside me. I won't dilly-dally. And if I follow it, the book law will work to make me a better reader. Say I if you believe.
That's so sweet.
So they were very excited that I was going to share this with you. I said, I'm taking it to a meeting. They said, you are. So they put a little book up here to decorate it. So that's going up in the room. And then, as Lisa said, it was really powerful to demonstrate the lesson and have the kids who can't sit and read do it the wrong way. But it was just as powerful, I think, for like Aaliyah, who never say a peep, and they're so good. And Allison came to me and she said, "Can I show it the wrong way one time?"
She's living on the edge.
Oh, she does. And you could just tell she was so uncomfortable, but she warmed up to it, and the kids were all like, because they couldn't believe. She went over and she hit people and she said, "Hey, are you trying to read?" And we were all like, "Oh my goodness, so not Allison." But today I passed out for the first time the chart that I think Diana put on the table with the graph and the calendar. And I told them that they were going to keep track of their readings. They had to look at the clock when they started to read, and then they had to write down the time they started and the time they ended. If they got a drink, if they asked me to go to the bathroom, they had to stop. And they didn't want to do it. They said, "You mean if we get up to go to the bathroom or sharpen our pencil?" And I said, "You don't need a pencil, number one, and yes, you have to clock out." So they didn't get up. They said, "Well, I don't want to, I'm not going to." So they sat so quiet and so still. It was better than I've ever seen it. I'm trying to think of, yesterday I did the right fit, the shoe lesson with the good fit books. And that was fun. I was talking at our table, and even for lower L, I think that lesson is appropriate just across the board. They got such a kick out of it. But one thing I did figure out is that that's something that's going to have to be continually talked about, and they have to be reminded of it all the time, how to pick that good fit book and why they can't read. Everybody right now wants to read The Lightning Thief, and some of them just can't read The Lightning Thief. Some of them can. But I'm trying, without specifying that particular book or particular people, I'm saying, well, gee, let's see if there's a book that maybe would be more at your level. And remember those shoes I wore with Mr. J's that didn't fit me? And so I'm trying little by little to get them to think about that. But it's something that I think that's going to take the rest of the year and on. It's going to go way up into 5th grade because they're so used to looking at what their friends are reading and saying, well, I'm going to read that too. So I can't think of anything anymore.
Thank you. You said great things. Sarah, could you give us a little perspective on some things you've tried in 1st grade and how it's worked?
Yeah, one of the things that I've seen the most that you guys both said too was that the independence is just incredible. With 1st graders who are just learning how to read, they don't have the most self-confidence, so as soon as they come to a word they don't know, they want your help. So it's just been a lot. I mean, all year long we teach decoding strategies and what to do when you come to a word you don't know. And they know what to do, but they don't necessarily want to do it on their own. So just knowing that they cannot get out of their seats and they have to try to figure it out on their own has really helped them do that on their own. And we gave them permission. They've got their decoding strategies on a bookmark, plus they're posted all over the classroom. So they've got them with them, and when they come to a tricky word they don't know, they try to figure it out. And if they don't and they can't figure it out, and the last decoding strategy says ask somebody for help, which they can't do during this time, we taught them that they can use a Post-it note to put on that page so that they remember that that was a tricky word and they need to get help from somebody. They just can't get help right now. And then they know, they put their Post-it note down and then they just skip it and keep on reading. And that strategy, knowing that they had to go through all the other decoding strategies before they could do that, has really helped them go through them and then realize they could figure it out on their own if they tried. And so at the beginning they would use a lot of Post-it notes and come back and look for help, and then when we would sit down and work through the strategies, they could figure it out. It's really, in the past 3 weeks, they use so many fewer Post-it notes now because they're actually trying it on their own. Which, 3 weeks ago when we weren't doing it in our classroom, I would have kids ask for help all the time. It was consistently high readers and low readers. So I've been really impressed with how well they're trying that on their own with the Daily 5, just the read to self portion.
If you could talk a little bit about the urgency. I love this.
We were just making a list kind of daily. I honestly was going into it kind of blind. So Jamie Quaker and I would kind of get the kids together before we would send them off to read to themselves, and we would just kind of add 1 or 2 things to our poster each day. And urgency was actually one of the last things that I talked to my kids about, and we just noticed every day that it took them forever to get to work. So when we finally talked to them, I just kind of brought it up at the end after we had read and then noticed that that was something they weren't doing. So we were just talking about it, and urgency was the word that I used with them, and I was trying to figure out how they would have a schema for that word. And the only thing that came to mind was urgent care. So we talked about how it's an emergency if you're sick and you need to go to the hospital but the doctor's office is closed or whatever, you go to urgent care. And so we talked about how this is urgent, you need to do it, it's an emergency. You have to think about it as something that needs to be done immediately. So we just used that as our first way to think about what urgent means and how important it is to get it done immediately.
Good. Thank you.